Welcome to CaseWorks. What is CaseWorks? It's an application designed for the investigator and their success. CaseWorks will provide you with mobility. Any internet device that you have ready will record that information. It integrates information for you. It streamlines information for you. And last but not least, it's going to free you up from those mundane investigative administrative chores that we all as investigators hate. So please, let me show you a little about what CaseWorks will do for you and make you more money.
In this segment, we're going to talk about the home screen and what it can do for you. As we are looking at this home screen right now, we see a calendar has been integrated. This is a Google Calendar. If you have not integrated your Google Calendar, get a hold of us and we'll assist you with that. But basically, this shows you everything that we have on our calendar at this particular juncture, so that when you log into CaseWorks, it's going to show you your events at the home screen. So that's the first thing I want to show you. Now, the next thing that we can do from the home screen is kind of give you an idea what's going on with your agency. First thing is, what are the pending leads coming up on the cases? You punch that pending leads button and it shows you all the cases with all the pending leads that are still out there to be done. Now, we can click on any one of these things and bring up the actual information on it and record whatever we need with it. So the idea with this pending leads is kind of give you an idea where you stand at with all your leads on all the cases at this juncture that are still active on you. Now, this is not to be confused with when you go to the case screen and activate the screen, then you can see a listing of only leads for that specific case. Another thing you may want to know is where you stand financially. So you click that financial snapshot, then it's going to show you all the cases, the case numbers, clients, and where they kind of stand with you, how much you've budgeted, how much you expect to get. So it kind of gives you a very quick snapshot of where you sit financially with your cases. You can also record payments for invoices. So what you can do from here is this particular invoice number is going to show you all the outstanding invoices that you have in the system. For example, I can take the State v. Smith case and identify that, and you notice it automatically populate the 105 in there, and you can tell the program how they're going to pay you, and we can say check 1, 2, 3 or whatever. And then you can also, if you were done with this case, i.e. you're not going to do any more work and you've collected all the payment, you can close the case from this juncture. The case is still going on, so I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to hit the save button, and now the payment has been recorded. Now you can go on to other cases to do other things to record payments, but we're not going to go any further than that from here. The other thing that you can do is record retainers for cases. A retainer is something that you're going to collect and will act as a budget. So let's say that we get this particular money maybe last week on the 4th of August. We tell the case which one we're taking the information from. Maybe we're doing getting more money for the State v. Smith, and we're going to take in $5,000. Check number 1, 2, 3, notes, more work, and then save it. So now you've recorded that retainer for that case, which is also a budget issue, as we've discussed earlier. Let's go back to our home screen again, and let's take a look at one more thing here, or two more things. One is conflict check. I want to know how many times I have run across this guy in my case. And you may not know that at all. They may not be in your database. Yes or no, we don't know. So I know I'm looking for a guy by the name of Al Cavalier. So I'll type in his first name, and we can tell the program to check aliases, check the nicknames, and check cases. But right now, all I want to know is from the Peeper Rolodex, anybody in the name by the name of Al in there. And it's going to come back with that result. It's going to tell us who we found. And there it is. This tells us that the conflict check, and these are all the cases that we've dealt with him on. So this is the way that kind of keep you out of trouble, so that you're doing work on a case that you don't have to conflict out of it. And last thing that I want to show you in the home screen is the Google Drive. If you've done Google Calendar, you probably have Google Drive, and we can directly connect to the Google Drive as well. So here is we have the documents that are been stored over into Google Drive. So I can bring up that document, and here it is. So the point is, you can integrate Google Calendar, Google Drive, and from the home screen, you can do many things here that are very helpful for you to manage your agency. So now it's time to add a new case for a new client inside CaseWorks. Well, you're going to go to the case screen, and up in the upper portion where it says filters option, there's a button that says new case. Click that button and we'll be off to the races by adding a new client and new case into the system. The thing to remember is that all the items in red are mandatory information you must record into it. So we are going to first off add the client to this case. So we click on that button that says search, and then we're shown all the clients that are inside the system. As a good practice, even though I know this individual's not in here, I would encourage you to always type in portions of that individual's name, first or last. It doesn't matter. In this case, we're looking for Fred Flintstone, and we're going to search on that Fred, and it's showing us that there's nobody in the system with a client with the name of Fred. So we're going to add a new client right with that button there. So I've already told you who it was. His name is Fred Flintstone. And you can see I've done Fred Flintstone several times here. So automatically it records all the information we need to put in there for us. So you type that stuff in there. The billing information is going to automatically take the default rate of $75. We could override it right here. But for this scenario, we're going to leave it just as is. So we have that information for this client. So we'll hit the save button. And now it comes back and is showing Fred Flintstone as one of those options. So we click on Fred Flintstone there. We see his name clearly in there as the client. Now, what does Fred want us to do? He thinks that Barney, his good friend, is stooping his wife. So he wants us to do a surveillance on Barney Rubble. So you're going to type in the guy's name. And you're going to type in an engagement purpose. What does he want us to do? He wants us to conduct a 3-day surveillance. Of Barney to see what's going on with him. Now there's other information you can add into the system. For example, we can define it as a case type. Under advanced profile, we can establish who referred us this case. And then billing information is automatically going to slap in the default rate for that particular client. So all we got to do at this point is hit the save button, and now we have that case entered into the system of which we now can work on. Now we are going to have to go find Fred in this case, so, or not Fred, but Barney. So we can type in Barney's name or just portions of it, hit the refresh button, and then it's going to pop back, and there is Barney Rubble as one of our cases that we are currently going to work on.
Welcome to CaseWorks. What is CaseWorks? It's an application designed for the investigator and their success. CaseWorks will provide you with mobility. Any internet device that you have ready will record that information. It integrates information for you. It streamlines information for you. And last but not least, it's going to free you up from those mundane investigative administrative chores that we all as investigators hate. So please, let me show you a little about what CaseWorks will do for you and make you more money.
In this segment, we're going to show you how to generate a contract for your client. Also, I'm going to show you where that data is stored inside CaseWorks and how you can change that information. And then, last but not least, email that same contract to your client. Well, we're going to deal with our Barney Rubble and Fred Flintstone case. And the first thing we want to do is generate a contract, or at least that's what we're going to do today. on the right hand side column under actions, there are a series of buttons, and one of them specifically says contract. So you will click on your contracts button, and then you'll be presented with the information that's going to appear on the invoice. And I'm going to point out a couple things to you. For example, the date's automatically put in the date of today, but you can change that. The case name, if the client has a reference number, it would have appeared here from the case profile. It's showing you what your default rate is. So basically all this information here is actually being extracted from the case information. The client signature block is Fred Flintstone because we're pulling it from him as a client. The address is also is being extracted from the client information. The scope of work is being conducted from the case profile. And if we back up to take a look at the case profile here, you'll see that one of the things that we said we were going to do is conduct a 3-day surveillance. So if we go ahead and press back over to here, to the contract itself, there's some boilerplate language down here is something that you're going to put into the system. Now this is the default, and all this information is being extracted from the utilities menu, and this information here can be modified very easily, and I want to show you where that's at. So if we click back onto the home page and click on to the utilities screen, then we're going to maneuver to the utility type here, and we are going to select correspondence letters. And so now we're going to look at all the utilities that are referenced to that. And here we have is that letter of agreement that we're using with our contract. And we can edit that information. And here's that information automatically flows into the contract itself. These kind of standard boilerplate, whatever you want to put in there, this is what will be your default. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this and pop back over to our invoice, or excuse me, not our invoice, but over to our agreement, our contract, to generate that. And so now what we have here is all the information we want to pull. Anything on this screen will be generated to the agreement itself. So if I want to pull this information out, I can do that. So first thing you're going to do is create a draft by clicking on the draft button. And then what happens is the program shows you, CaseWorks is going to show you what that's going to look like. And here it puts your logo up there should you have one here, all the information you need, the address. It's showing the hourly rate and whatever language you put in here to include the scope of work right here. Now, if you are happy with this, then you're going to go ahead and want to fire us off to the client. Now, I do want to point out one thing down here. There's a signature block for Fred Flintstone to sign. So I'm going to go ahead and download this letter of agreement or contract, and really what I'm really saying is I'm going to actually email it to Fred at his location, plus there's a blind copy to myself. So simply all you got to do is smash this email report, and and then what you'll see is this form being sent to your client. If you want to take a look at the actual report itself, and you can click this download the report, and that's what it will look like in full copy. So all we have to do now at this point to email it to Fred is smash this report, and off of the races it goes, and that letter of agreement has now been sent to your client, plus it has also sent you a blind courtesy copy so you can take a look at it and to validate what's happened. And that concludes this segment. In this segment, we're going to show you how to record time slips, case notes, and expenses for your cases. The very first thing we must do is focus on the case that you want to actually record those time slips and expenses for. I have already filtered out the cases that I want to see, and I'm looking specifically at this Barney Rubble case. Well, what I got to do now next is go to the actions column on that same row and click on work cases, and the screen that next will pop up is the activity screen, the time notes, the case notes. This is where you're recording the work that you're doing normally. So I do want to point out before we go any further that you have the ability to filter your time slips and case notes screens with the upper side of this particular screen. This is not unlike the case screen and other screens you've seen in the past, so it works very much similar to that. But let's get back to adding a time slip and case note. Well, there's a button here that says New Time Slip and Case Notes. We're going to click on that. And then we are going to record that information that we want to deal with. Now, we're doing this case on Barney Rebel, so maybe we want to do a background on Barney Rebel before we go actually do the surveillance. So I'm going to click this activities type, and I'm going to select R and take it down to research activities. Now, I do want to point out right now very quickly that the first thing that popped up was interviews. That was because that was defined as default. You can tell the program what the number one things that you do when you record time slips, and it will pop up there as that type every time. So let's record the start and end time of the activity. Let's say that we did an hour's worth of work doing this search. So we put the 7:33. So now we have an hour's worth of work ready to record against that client. Now, what we want to do is put stuff into this work product area right here. Any information you put in this particular box will not show up on the invoice. It will, however, show up on investigative reports as you pull them out. So just be aware that there are two boxes here. So what I would put here in the work product case notes is the actual dirt of what you found. In this case, we're doing research. You pick out your favorite database provider. You can cut and paste that information there, or you can synopsize whatever you found. So I'm just going to type stuff in here. So I found some following stuff. And I would detail whatever I found. Type as much as you want. There's not a limitation here. Next thing you want to do, if this is totally optional, is get into here the invoice notes. Now, whatever you put in the invoice notes is going to show up onto the invoice. So you don't want to. You may not want to put some very gritty details here, but maybe that you did data search. So maybe we just say we did data search, and that's all we're going to say. And with this, we can also record expenses. So I click on the expenses tab, and you have a myriad of expenses that you can record with this. We are going to tell the program we're going to do a database search, and it automatically has populated what your cost is, what the client's cost is going to be, and that's basically all you have to do at this point. You could add additional expenses if you wanted to, but we're not going to at this juncture. So I'm going to click the Save button. Just for the sheer fact I'm done with this. I've recorded my time slip, I've got the case note in there, and I have recorded expenses. So now we're coming back to the time slip screen, and here we see in fact that we have recorded this information, and we see this clearly on the screen. So let's say that we actually go out and do the surveillance, and you come back to the office, or maybe you're online and you start your surveillance online with a timer here. So we're going to add a new time slip and a case note, and let's say we're going to do the actual surveillance, and I've got it plugged in right there. Now, instead of typing in the date and time here, I instead want to tell the program how many hours I worked on this case. So I'm going to tell the program I want to do a manual override, and I'm going to tell the program how many hours worth of surveillance I did. Let's say that we did 7.5 hours. Or in this case it said 70. That would be a good payday. Let's make that 7. And so now we've got that taken care of, 7 hours worth of work. We have some expenses that goes along with this. Maybe we want to charge them for mileage. So you click on mileage charge. It automatically populates your rate in there, what the client's rate is. All you got to do is tell the program how many miles you drove. But we're not through yet, because we want to go back to our case notes itself and record information that would potentially appear on investigative report and or the invoice. So once again, on the work product case notes, you're going to type the details. Maybe at 0900 arrived on station, and then maybe at 10 o'clock you had a coffee break, and then at 11 o'clock you had lunch break. I think you get the idea. You basically record whatever is necessary for your surveillances. So now this is the work product, but now if we want anything to show up on the invoice notes, once again this is totally optional, we would type in something like followed suspect or target, whatever you want to call it. So we've done all that information. Now all we got to do is simply hit the save button, and we now have saved this time slip and the expenses associated, now we have 2 time slips that have been created. This is really all you need to do. But let's say, for example, that you forgot to add some expenses on this particular day. Well, you can reach over and hit the expense button, and then you can add additional expenses on this case by simply hit the new expense button and select whatever it is that you want to deal with. Let's say that I did a copy charge of papers, and I want to charge them 95 cents. So it's populating whatever rates that you have. We tell the program how many that you did, and we also put in here anything that we want to clarify to the client of what we did. This is simply all you have to do to record time slips and expenses in CaseWorks. And at this juncture, you could just keep recording as much as you need, and then you'll be ready to invoice and create investigative reports later on at your leisure.
Welcome to CaseWorks. What is CaseWorks? It's an application designed for the investigator and their success. CaseWorks will provide you with mobility. Any internet device that you have ready will record that information. It integrates information for you. It streamlines information for you. And last but not least, it's going to free you up from those mundane investigative administrative chores that we all as investigators hate. So please, let me show you a little about what CaseWorks will do for you and make you more money.
In this segment, we're going to show you how to connect individuals to your cases. Well, the very first thing you must do is have the program focus on that specific case of which you want to add an individual to. We're going to use our Barney Rubble sample case here, and I've already filtered for Barney Rubble's case in this scenario. So we have him listed in the lower half here, so we know we have the right case, or at least we can get to it. But we need to work that case so now that we can add individuals connected to that case. As always, when you hit that work case button, it'll always take you to the time slip screen. So now what we must do is on the left hand side is click on this people button to look at individuals who are connected to this case. In our scenario here, there is no one connected to this case. So very simply, you hit this new association button, and then you'll be presented with a chance to record Barney's name. So the very first thing we must do, we've got to put his name in there because it's in red, obviously. And then we do that by hitting the search button. And what the program now has done is shown us everybody that's in the people Rolodex. As with all other filters, I recommend you filter on as little pieces of information as a first name or last name to see if in fact Barney's not in the system already. So we hit the refresh button, and boom, it's telling us that Barney is not connected to the case. Now the reason why you want to do these type of searches is so that you don't record somebody's name in there twice by flipping letters of their names or even flipping their first and last. So basically it's always a good idea to search for an individual before you add someone. So, okay, so we have no one by the name of Barney in here, so we're going to add a new person to our people Rolodex, and here we go with that information. So I'm going to record Barney's name here, and there's other information we can record in here, and we're not going to really concern ourselves a lot about the rest of the stuff. This will go into at a later date on other descriptions, but just get this individual into the system is the key here. Now if you have any information on Barney, like maybe you might have a phone number on him, then you want to record what you have so that you can actually contact him at a later date. So we can also record an address if you have that. If you don't worry about it, press on. If this is a defense case where you want to talk about specific characteristics, this is where you record that as well. So simply at this point, hit the save button, and now we come back to that search screen where we were looking for Barney before, and lo and behold, there he is. So we're going to click on him once, and now he's listed here. We must then choose a role that we want him connected to the case. Well, we know that he's the target, So I hit the letter T on the target, and we can determine whether he's a witness or not. What if he's a witness, what type he is, hostile, extra friendly. But the point is, get him in the system. And under the notes here, you want to record something about him, so that as you were looking down the road and look back into this case, he was a target, but maybe you had more information that might be more descriptive about it. So you might say he's suspected of an affair with Wilma. So we're going to go ahead and hit the save button. And so now we have him connected to the case. We have a phone number here should we need to call him, or if this he was in the target, maybe he was as a contact. But it's going to put their contact information inside here so you can call them very quickly. Now you're going to note here at this point that we don't have an address for him. I did that on purpose to show you where if you get information later on, you can quickly add that information to this individual's personnel file, if you will. So we're going to add a new address for him, and I'm going to record and let's do this. You know, if I can spell, it'll be just a wonderful thing. That's all I have is that information, so we're going to click on the save. So now we have the first address recorded for him, and you'll note when we come back to this people connected to the case, the address is appearing here, but in addition to that, it's putting a Google Map button that you can actually pull up Google Maps with this address. So let's give that a shot and see what happens, and boom, there's the Google Map. So it's a way of being able to determine exactly where this person's at. Now let's add another address for this guy. Let's add an address, maybe the office here. Put in Clackamas, and then we're going to save. Now, once it comes back to this people connected to the case, the program has detected there's another address for him and put it in there, but it also allows you to pop in a Google map too. So the point is, the more information you give the system, the more valuable it's going to be for you. So now we've added Barney here, and now we want to possibly add Wilma. So let's add Wilma through a new association. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to search. So the program has remembered our previous filter, so we want to clear that out by hitting that clear button. And let's look for Wilma. I'm going to type the first part of her name, hit the refresh, and it does not exist. So we're going to add Wilma to the system. And then we're going to save it. So now we come back here and there's Wilma, and we single click on her, and she's now added to the system, or she's association. So now we want to determine what association is, and you can put down whatever role she serves, where she's a spouse in this case, and I'm going to put down and then simply hit save. Now you can you can adjust this information as necessary, but we'll just get it in there for right now. So now we have two people connected to the case, and just as with Barney Rubble, you could easily add other information about Wilma: address, phone numbers, employment, education, whatever is necessary. Let me take you to that way of handling information, those other types of stuff that's not normal. So we're going to actually engage the Rolodex on on Barney Rubble here, and so we are now looking at his personnel file right here. So basically, with his personnel file, we can add more addresses. Works. We can add a photo, vehicles. This is all the stuff that is very particular to excuse me, Barney Rubble. So the point is, you can add as much information as necessary. Add others as you come back to them. So now once you're here and you have people connected to the case, you may want to generate some sort of report to walk away either in the field or possibly to email to somebody. So let's generate, generate a first report here. And you have types of reports you can generate: minimal, demographic, or pedigree. Now, whatever you select here, it's going to respect whatever filters you have put up in the system up here. So let's go ahead and pump out a report that's full, and that's going to have both individuals. So what we have here is just basic information on both these individuals, and we could easily download the report or we can email it. So if you hit this downloads report, then what's going to happen, the program is allowing you to email this information to somebody, to yourself, whatever you want to do with it, or you can also hit this downloads report, or you can actually just email a report out to whoever you want to deal with. So that is one style of report. Let's go and generate another report. Let's try minimal and see what that looks like. That's a different type of information, minimal information. Things in terms of if you're working a case and you have to produce a witness list to the other side, you're not going to provide all that pedigree information, just a simple information or whatever you want to do with it. So let's go back and try a different report. Let's try a demographic report, which is going to pull out a lot of stuff. It's going to pull out everything that we have on these individuals. And there you have it. Different style of report, but basically it's showing you very positively, very negatively, whether or not you found information on these individuals. So that's one style of report. And then you can also do another type of report that deals with pedigree. And let's pop that out there. And so this is showing you the same information, but in a little different format. If there were photos connected to these individuals, they would have appeared right here. So this is a way that you can add individuals to your cases, pull out reports, and be able to print and look at information. In this segment, we're going to show you how to add photos to your cases. And the way this is done is actually not unlike others. The first thing you must do is to focus on the case that you want to deal with. In this situation, we're dealing with the Barney Rubble case, and I've already focused on Barney Rubble's case by applying a filter. Once you've done that, then you must actively engage the case for this particular case. Once you're there, as always, it takes you to the timestamp case notes as a default. On the left-hand side, you're going to select the Photos button. And once you have selected the Photos button, the program's then going to show you all the photos that are connected to this case based off the filters that you've established in here. But right now we don't have any filters, so we're going to add our first image to this case. So you're going to click a new image. Now what the program wants you to do is for you to tell the software where that particular image lives. So you can click this thing, Add Files, and it takes you to the location on your hard drive. You got to go find it, and then you can select the photo that you want to upload, and then the program will show you that you have identified that photo as to be uploaded. We can add another file, for example this file here, and then now we see we have two files that have been identified that we want to upload to the system. So we hit start upload, and the program starts counting it down, and once it's done, all your photos will be shown down here. That will tell you in fact that you have uploaded those photos. So you just hit the back arrow key and then hit the refresh button, and then we are going to see those two photos that have been connected to this case. Now if we take a very good close look at these images right here, we notice that we have put in an automatic title called New Image. So you might want to modify these titles to be more descriptive. So we hit the Edit button, and it's showing that full photo there, and we can say target photo, whatever you want to call it, and then down here put some notes. Then simply hit the save. So now the program is allowing you to record this information, and you'll see that the information has changed based off of what we just put in there. So we can generate reports based off the filters in this particular screen. So all you got to do to generate a report is hit that report button, and then the program is going to generate an initial draft for you to look at and say if that's what you actually want to do. And if you're happy with that, then you can download the report like all other cases or all other processes to either email or to download the photo to that particular report to your computer. So it's attached to the report that we just created, and all you got to do is either download the report from here. You can click on that and see what it does, and there pops up your report. Or you can email this report to anybody you want to. And once you've done that emailing of this report, it's going to also annotate it inside the time slip screen as the fact that you did this. Kind of memorializes that fact. So very, very quickly, this is how you add photos to the system. Now, one other sidetrack here is I want to show you that this concept of how to add photos applies also to adding photos about individuals. So if we go to the people connected to the case, and we're going to pop up a Rolodex on Barney Rubble. And so let's say that now we have a photo we want to connect to Barney Rubble. Then we click on the Photos button. Remember, once again, we're in the Personnel Rolodex here. And for Barney, now we're going to ask it to add a new image. So we're going to add that image from here. And so we'll select whoever that guy is, that picture is. And then we are going to start the upload. So you see it's very similar to what we just had done before for the cases. So now hit the refresh, and then that particular image will show up here as a part of it. So adding photos to the system, either for a case or for an individual and or a company, is very similar. So once again, this is how you generate photos and put them inside CaseWorks. In this segment, we're going to talk about leads and how you can employ them inside CaseWorks in order to make you A, more productive, B, to document exactly what, and C, why you are doing something. There are many reasons to do leads, but let's just dive in here and show you exactly where I'm coming from with this concept. Well, let's take a look at this Barney Rubble case specifically, and if we hit the edit button to look at that specific time slip and case notes, there's information on a tab that says leads. Now, the leads on this case have been identified only as conducting a case background. Now, what a case background does, that tells us why we are engaged in a case. So the concept here, or the idea, is to allow you to do as much as you possibly can, record that work, and then be able at some point down the road determine exactly what you did on this. So I always like to generate a first time slip that shows me a little bit about the background as to why I'm doing this case. So let's do that in this Barney Rubble case here. So I'm going to add a new time slip, and I'm going to say I did this on the 4th, and let's say that I maybe did an hour's worth of work. Now, in the work product notes here is that we're going to basically say what we found out from Fred Flintstone. So we're going to say what Fred told us. Fred believes that Barney is having an affair with... You can put details as much as you want, and basically just record information that's going to tell you exactly what this case is about. In case of criminal cases, maybe the cops, arrested the guy, and you want to know the information about how we got arrested. The point is allow you to determine specifically at any point in time what the background on this case is. Not conducting a background on an individual, which is different. So I'm going to say that Fred thinks that Barney is having trouble with his wife. So basically, I want to hook this to a lead. I only got one right now, and I'm going to say it's connected to this thing called case background. Then I'm going to hit the save button. So what's happening now is that it's saving this time slip, and we see that the lead itself has been connected to the case background. Okay, so the idea here is that let's take a look at the lead screen itself, and we are going to find all the leads that have been associated with this case or generate for this case. The program will automatically always generate this thing called case background for you. So now I know I have done some information on the case background, work on it, and I want to take a look at that so I can actually do a leads print on this information. And without going any further, but basically this shows you exactly there was one case note that was recorded with it, and we see that Fred thinks that Barney is having an affair with his wife. For every case note that you associate with the case background, it will print that out. So let's demonstrate that very clearly. So let's go back a little bit here, and let's go back to the leads. And what I want to do at this point is add a custom lead here. So let's say that we want to, we were going to do surveillance on Barney, but there we wanted to do the background on him prior to that. So let's record the fact that we want to do a background on him. So we'll add a new lead. It's active, and we're going to say on Barney Rubble. Okay, the task narrative is get as much info as we can. You can put the date it's assigned. You can also put a due date on it. It's really up to you. But let's just go simple and say that's all we want to do for right now. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And now let's go back to our time slip screen where we have recorded case notes. And we're going to find that time slip we just generated about the background itself. And I'm going to edit that information. Actually, that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is go back to the first time slip where we actually did the research activities. This is the lead that we want to connect that to. So we're going to hit the edit button. And so this is a research activity. And the leads that are available to us is do a case background. That's not a case background. Or we're conducting a background on Barney Rubble. And that was a yes, that was the background that was conducted because we recorded it here and then save it. So now we have the ability to very quickly from the lead screen take a look what we have done relative to the background on Barney. So let's do a leads print on this. And this is a showing of the fact that we did do a background on this case, or actually a background on Barney, and this is what we found. So let's go ahead and go back a wee bit here, and I want to establish another lead in here, the actual surveillance itself. So let's go ahead and add a new lead for this case, and we're going to call surveillance. Okay, get videos and pics, and I'm going to save that. So the fact that we said that we want to do surveillance on him shows up inside the lead screen. Now if we were to do a leads print on that, it wouldn't show us anything. So take a look at this. In fact, there's nothing associated with it. We see we want to get videos and pics, but there's been nothing connected to this case. So let's go back a bit. And let's actually go back to the time slip screen where we actually did that surveillance. So here's that surveillance we conducted, and we're going to edit that specific time slip, and we're going to pop over the leads section, and now we have 3 leads, and this wasn't a case background, it wasn't a background on Barney, but it was surveillance on Barney. So we're going to say yes to this, and we're going to save it. Now, once we have this saved, we're going to go back to the case screen, and we will see that that surveillance has been connected by follow Barney Rubble. Now let's pop back over to our lead screen, and let's find that particular lead down here, surveillance, and let's do a lead print on that and see what it shows us. And it shows us we have one item, and here is that specific time slip. Now, let me show you another manner of how this can really help you out. Let's say in this investigation that we wanted to call somebody, like maybe Mike Smith. Whoever Mike Smith is, we'll figure that out. During your investigation, you find that you need to talk to Mike Smith, so you're going to document that. So we're going to add a new lead here, and we're going to say, interview Mike Smith. And what does he know about this affair? Okay, simple, very straight to the point. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go call Mike. But before we call Mike, I would highly recommend that you take Mike Smith and put him into the Rolodex, and to connect him to the case. So let's add Mike Smith as a person connected to this case. And we're going to, once again, we're going to look for Mike Smith inside the system here. And we're going to clear out our filters. And let's look for anybody that has a SMI in its name. And we don't have our Mike Smith. So let's go ahead and add our Mike Smith. And it so happens we happen to have his phone number, so you're going to record it as a mobile or whatever it is. And we're going to go ahead and save that. And then we're going to select Mike Smith, because that's who it is. And what role is he filling this? I'm going to make him a simple contact. And he's most likely a friendly, or maybe you don't know. And the notes are, what does he know about the affair? Get that information. And other leads, other info as required. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that. Now, the point is, we are going to want to contact Mike. So in order to do that, we're probably going to call him up on the phone. So the first thing you want to do is to call him up on a phone. So we engage a time slip, case notes. And so we're going to tell the program it was a telephone call. And it was on this date and this time, and the work product says called and left message. Because I couldn't get a hold of him. And so we're going to go ahead and say leads. We're going to show the leads, the fact that we attempted to interview Mike Smith, and there that is. And then we're going to save it. So we tried to call him, and we left a message. So let's say that we tried to call him again on the next date. So add a new time slip, case notes. And so let's say it's the next day, the 7th. And if you notice what the program's doing here is changing the end date to match for you, should you want to do that. And so let's say we got to make it as a telephone call. And once again, left message. Couldn't get hold of him, but you left it there, so you're going to connect it to the leads that you're trying to interview Mike Smith. That's the reason why you're calling him. So now, once you have this recorded, let's say that the following day that you yet again try to contact him. So you're going to add that time slip in here as well. So we're going to bounce this up a couple days to the 8th. And we're going to make the telephone call again. And the leads connected to is interview Mike Smith. So we get back to the case notes and we actually talk to him. So you record any information that you found that Mike told you. So go ahead and save the information. Now let me show you how this actually will help you out in the long run. If somebody asks you, well, how many times did you try to contact him before you actually made it? Or maybe how many times did you contact him and you did not actually contact him? So you can grab this lead called Mike Smith and do a leads print on it. And let's take a look at this. And it's showing you that we called it the message on this date. We did the same thing on the next date, and then we finally contacted him. So basically, this is now telling you exactly everything you did in this investigative activity to complete this leads. This is a very good way to track how you record all your information, and it provides a good track record for you to memorial yourself. Now, let's say that you have uncovered information that leads us to interview somebody else by the name of John Doe, and John Doe is not in the same state as you are. For example, I'm in Oregon, but John Doe lives in Florida, so I need to farm it out to somebody in Florida to actually go talk to this guy. So I want to add a new lead to interview John Doe. So you smash that new leads button, and then you basically say what it is. Interview John Doe. And the task narrative will say where kind of it came from. And that was our Mr. Smith stated that Joe, or actually John, knows more about the fair. Okay, so we got to contact this guy right now. All right, so we're going to go ahead and save this. And I'm not going to go through the entering John Doe into the system, but if you were doing this live, I would highly encourage you to do that. So let's go back over to our time slip screen, and we need to send this information to John Doe. So what we want to do is generate this lead so that we can send to somebody that they can then react on. So let's add just a little bit more information in here. So we could put in here phone number. We could put address. Whatever you want to put in there is going to help get that individual that's going to lead for you completed. You're going to plug it in here. So go ahead and save this. Now, what you're going to do very, very simplistically is grab this interview of John Doe, do a leads print, and what you're going to do is tell the program who's it assigned to. So let's say I'm assigning it to this Rosie Bixel, who lives in Florida, an investigator for me. And what I'm going to do is I can add more information into this box here as I want. I can put a due date, whatever you want to do, that's up to you. You can tell it whatever, and then basically hit the report button, and then go to the download this report. And what's going to happen here is that we are going to send this lead via email, telling him leads print, and it's about this case here. And we are going to ask them to do that information. So you would put in their email here, and then what they'll get is this information that you're going to send them via email. Now, what are they going to get? They're going to get something like this. I'll show you what it looks like. So they'll get this in their email box, and they'll be able to react to what you've asked them to do. So this is a very efficient way of sending this information off. So let's go ahead and email it off, and it has been sent. Now, what I want to show you now, once we sent that leads off via the emails, then it also has memorialized that fact. If we go back to our time slips here, we are going to find that activity inside here where we sent that information off to them. So the idea is to allow you to do your work, memorialize it, and get it off as soon as possible so leads can be conducted, or I should say completed.
Welcome to CaseWorks. What is CaseWorks? It's an application designed for the investigator and their success. CaseWorks will provide you with mobility. Any internet device that you have ready will record that information. It integrates information for you. It streamlines information for you. And last but not least, it's going to free you up from those mundane investigative administrative chores that we all as investigators hate. So please, let me show you a little about what CaseWorks will do for you and make you more money.
In this segment, we're going to show you how to generate case reports. The first place that you can generate case reports is at the case screen itself. Each one of the listed cases here, the far right hand columns, has actions. And inside these actions are buttons that are things that you can do. Specifically, you can work the case profile, or you can generate reports. Let's go ahead and work on reports for the State v. Smith case. And I'm going to initially generate a case information about this case. So here's what we have on this case. It shows report of investigation. It shows you basic information, any issues you record in a case, any discovery you record in a case, and a report of investigation. So it records a lot of things that tells you exactly kind of what's going on with a particular case. You can also change this, and let's maybe do a case intake and see what that gives us. Same case, different information. So here's your case intake. Let's also take a look at the mileage report. And here's your mileage report. Now this is specifically generated from recording information inside the system that's associated with mileage. We can ask for significant work product, meaning when you've recorded your time slip, you had identified a specific or specific work products as significant. So let's see what that gives us. And there's that information there. And then we can look for work product, meaning all the work product without any hesitation or reservation. So basically, these are different styles of reports that you can generate out of CaseWorks from this specific location. Other locations where you can generate reports is after you generate, or actually generate when you start working on that case. So once we actually engage the case start working on, so we're going to click that work the case button, it's automatically going to take you to the time slip screen of that particular case. Now, the information that's filtered here, we can then generate reports. Right now it's telling us all, and I want to tell the program that's fine, but I only want to deal with significant work product, and we're going to refresh the screen. And then I'm going to generate a report based off of this. And the styles of reports are case notes or significance through case notes. And let's generate that report. And here that information is of all the information that you have said that you want to put into the system or into this report. If we go back to that screen itself, then we can tell the program, instead of doing that, we want to deal significant work product. And let's do a refresh. And we can also then do the report. And so now this is going to generate reports that show only significant work product in this scenario. So let's go back to our time slip screen, and from here we then can filter things, like for example we can do that moaning thing we were talking about earlier and do a refresh on that and print a report based off of that. So let's see what that looks like, and we're going to go case notes instead and do the reports. And here's that only time slip that had that word moan in it right there. So this is another location you can generate reports from. Another place that you can get information from or generate reports is the people connected to the case. Well, here we have all the people that are connected to the case, and like any other screen, we can do filters. So we can do, for example, we can do information that could be a pedigree report. And I also want to filter it down to one individual. Maybe we want to go with this guy called Abel and refresh the screen so we're only dealing with him specifically. And then we can generate a report based off what we're seeing here. So this will be a pedigree report along with the individual's picture, if they actually have a picture. So this is the second place that you can generate information from, or third place. Another place that you can generate reports from is under the timelines. And like I said, there are many places you can generate types of reports, but these are I believe, more significant at this particular juncture. So let's take a look. This is the timeline entry of information, and there are different styles of reports you can generate. But let's generate a report based off of filters that are here right now. And we're doing the landscape report, and you can see here's that timeline generated for you. So the program will generate this timeline for you that you can print out, and you can also filter things out of it. So this is another type of report that you can generate inside the system. Another location for generating reports would be under photos. But like I was saying earlier, there are many places that you can generate reports from. And let's apply a filter to some of the stuff. Maybe I only want to see stuff that is that has the word Mac in it, because I see a Mac down here. So let's apply that filter and hit the refresh, and then it's going to come back and give us everything that matches that. And there it is. So let's generate a report based off our filter here, and the program is going to show that information, which you can then download and do what you want with it. Let's go back to our time slip screen, and I want to show you what you can do after you have generated these reports. Any one of these reports follows the same type of concept. So what we have here is this specific report. I want to generate this report via case notes, and now I want to download this report. Now, downloading this report basically gives you the option to then email this stuff to anybody you need. And if I can spell, I would just be literally awesome. And then you can put a carbon copy in here, whoever you want to go to. The BCC, basically that blind courtesy copy is going to come back to you as the individual, but you can put notes in here that's going to be shipped along with this particular report to whoever you want to go to. So once you email this report, then the program is going to memorialize the fact that you sent this report and what notes you've established in there and anything else that's relative to it. So let's go ahead and email this report and see what that does for us. So it has been emailed. So let's go back to our case notes, and we're going to clear out the filters here, and we're going to, and what we see now is that we had sent this report, and it's telling us what we sent to them and what the report was, and who was emailed to, both in a normal fashion or BCC or CC. So this is a way to memorialize the actions that you took to send somebody an investigative report. Invoicing in CaseWorks can be done through 3 different locations. The first location has to deal with the case main screen itself, and that is in the column called Actions on the right hand side. For each individual case, you will find a button that says specifically Invoice, as I'm demonstrating by pointing out each invoice buttons in the Actions columns. So you simply have to push on the case that you want for invoice to generate that specific invoice. So now we know we're going to be invoicing on this particular case. Another manner in which you can invoice a case is after you have actually engaged the case by clicking on the Work Case button from the Actions column. Once you get to the time slip screen of that particular case, you will see at the upper hand right hand side there's a button that says Invoice. So if you click on that Invoice button, it's going to invoice for that particular case. Another location from which you can invoice your client is after you have engaged that case and working on it. We've already shown you where you can invoice of the upper right hand corner on the time slips, but if you are also click on the expenses button on the left hand side, then you will see a button up here for the ability to invoice. So there are 3 locations of which you can actually generate an invoice: main case screen, time slips, and invoice. No matter which route you travel to get to the invoicing, once you're here, it all looks the same. You have some options here. For example, you can tell the program to generate invoices on all items or select a date range. You can also select the style of invoice, detailed or summary. You can put the invoice date number here to whatever you want. That will appear on the invoice itself. And then if you did do the date frame or the date range, it would be the date from and the date to. The billing instructions automatically has been played in there for you by CaseWorks. You can override it now. And any footer you want on the invoice, you can do that here right now. So once you get to this particular point of the invoicing, hit the button that says draft invoice, and then the program's going to show you what that invoice is going to look like at this juncture. So if you're happy with this particular invoice, then all you got to do now is finalize the invoice in order to put a invoice number on it, because right now it says draft. So you're going to hit the finalize this invoice, and the program is asking, is that really what you want to do? Yes. We have just finalized that invoice. We now can email it to your client, to anybody that you want. You can put a carbon copy, you can do a blind copy, and any notes here specifically to show the client whatever you're sending them. Now, if you wanted to download and take a copy, take a look at that invoice, you can do that right here by simply pushing that button, and then that shows you the invoice as it would come out. Or you can simply just email this invoice to the individuals here, and you have completed your invoice. In this segment, we're going to show you how to work with both budgets and retainers. Just as a clarification point, a budget is somebody telling you that you have X amount of dollars to be used on a case, like maybe $500, maybe $1,000, whatever it is. That is a budget. A retainer is different from the standpoint that a retainer is you actually are given money, and that retainer, as before, like $500 or $1,000, then actually becomes your budget. So the point is, if you're entering a retainer, that will become your budget. If you don't have a retainer and want to record a budget, it will do the same thing for you. But anyways, what we want to do, taking a look at this case here, we have our Barney Rubble screen case, I should say, identified, and we want to establish a budget for this case. So I'm going to click on the Work Case button, and the program automatically comes back and shows us the case that we're focused on, and we once again are on the time stub screen. I'm going to draw your attention to the upper left hand side of the screen. It is showing what the budget has been established on. It's at 0 and the rate $75. So basically it's telling you there's no budget that has been established. So let's establish a budget for this case here. So you're going to go down and hit the budget button. And once you're hit the budget button, you're going to actually hit the new budget, because you can actually have multiple budgets in any system. Let's apply $1,000 as a budget, and this is the date we got it, and we can put notes relative to that budget if you want to, or not. Hit the save button, and when we come back to the case screen, we now see that a budget has been established, and we are actually in the green for the budget. And what that means is we are at 80%. We are 80% or below of using that budget. So basically, this is a track, a light track that's going to tell you when you hit 80%, the green light will go yellow. When you hit 100%, the yellow light will go to red. So this is your budget track. Now there's another way of handling these budgets. I'm going to go ahead and delete this budget, and we're going to pop over to the retainer screen, and we're going to add a retainer. Now if you take a look very quickly here, I should have showed you, but the budget itself has now been removed because we took that budget away. Now let's go into the retainers. Now once again, a retainer is actually receiving monies from somebody. So let's add a retainer in this case, and let's say that we took $1,000 from this individual. They gave us a check on it. The check number is 1235, and it was a Bank of America check. You can only spell be dangerous. All right, so let's go ahead and slap that in there. Hit the save button, and we come back to our case, and now we do have a budget of $1,000. So what has happened? It has taken that retainer and applied it as a budget. Should we now click on the budget screen, we are going to see an entry in the budget screen that's telling you that it came from the retainer screen itself. You cannot modify or adjust this specific entry. That can only be done back at the retainer screen. So this is how you establish budgets for yourself. Now I'm going to change over to a different case right now. Let's go to State v. Smith, and I'm going to show you what this budgets look like on this case. Well, if you look at this, you can see the budget here is $5,200. My rate for this case $75, and we're in the yellow range. So we have about 8.37 hours left remaining. It's also telling you that how much has been invoiced. We have invoiced $4,000, and we have not invoiced $615. So basically, since the last time we've invoiced, we've added that much more in terms of services. Same thing with expenses. One other thing I want to point out here, you notice this border is now red. There's a reason for that. What's happened here is that we have billed this client and are asking for money, and we have not been paid on this case yet. So basically on this case is in the red. They in essence owe you money. So that's the reason why we have that red information or that red background for you. So this is how you can work with budgets and retainers to make sure that you're on track. Any case button that you work on inside the program, it's going to show your budget. For example, if we were to pop over into the people connected to this case, then we are also going to see that budget track sitting there. In this segment, we're going to show you how to work with filters. So just imagine that you have put a lot of cases into CaseWorks, time slips, or whatever, and you need to get back to a specific item. The best way to handle it is via filters. So let me show you how that works inside the case screen. We are currently looking at all cases that are active based off the filters I see up here. So I want to find another case to work on that might be several screens down, and I don't want to be hopping between screens, so I want to type in pieces of information that is going to get me to that specific case. Now I know I've got a case in here that's via the name State v. Smith. So once I've typed in my filter option here, then I must hit the refresh button to engage any filters that I have typed in on the system here. So this quickly came back and gave us State v. Smith. Now we can clear this out, and if you want to clear it out, don't just delete this, actually hit this clear button, and that will totally clear any filters you've established on this screen. So let's apply another filter. Maybe we can't remember how to spell State, and we know the individual's last name is Smith, so I can type in SM and then do a refresh off of that. Now the program then is going to show us all cases that have SM somewhere in the case name, and once again it has pulled up the State v. Smith. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that option out now and go back to our all cases that are active. Now I can also search by case number, portions of the case number. So let's take this case down here for Barney Rubble. I can actually take these three numbers here, put it on my clipboard, and type into the case number, and then hit the refresh to engage the filters that are up here, and it's going to come back with our results, and there it is that Barney Rubble case. Now if I want to clear it out, then as before, hit that clear button to totally wipe things out on the filter side. Now we can also search by client. So if you want to see all cases by a specific client, I see on the right hand side we got a guy by the name of Stickwell. So I'm going to type in Stick and hit the refresh button. Now the program is going to come back and show us all cases that have the name Stickwell in it for the client and that are active. And you can see we only have two here. So let's go ahead and clear that out. Now you can also tell the program other filters, like for example, I want to see all cases that have been closed. So hit the refresh button based off of that filter, and the program shows all cases that have been closed. And there it found one specific case for us. So if I want to change those conditions from that filter, then I've got to go back to the active, hit the refresh, and off to the races it goes. And it's going to show you all the cases that are active. Now you can also tell the program to show cases that who people are assigned to. So let's see if Rosie Bixel has any cases assigned to her. And hit the refresh button after I've done that, and it comes back and there's nothing there. We can also tell the program, let's look for cases assigned to me. And let's come back with all cases relative to Roy Miller. And here we come back with those cases right here. You can also tell the program not to use this filter, and let's clear things out. But we can also tell the program to sort by case types. So we can put down aggravated murder. I think we got one of those in the case here, and hit the refresh button. And it's going to show us every case in the system that's aggravated murder. Okay, so here we have our 3 cases. Now we can get even fancier with our filters here. We can leave aggravated murder as a case, but now I also only want to focus on cases that are assigned to Smith, Jones, and Rumpel down here, if you see that. So I'm going to type in, I'm going to choose Rumpel, or at least portions of it. Hit the refresh button. So the program's going to come back and show us all active cases that are signed to by a client with something in the name rum in it, and that are aggravated murder. And here's that capacity right here. It shows you that case. So now that we've done that, let's go over and work a case, and let's show you how you can take your time slips, or in the time slip screen, and do the same thing. Now right now the program is only looking at cases, time slips under V-State v. Smith that are ready to be billed. I can change that filter to say I want to show me all time slips that have been billed, and hit the refresh button, and the program's going to come back and show you that information. We can also once we got here, I do want to point out that it's showing you this specific time slip has been invoiced. So we can also tell the program that we want to look at all time slips as opposed to those that were just okay, ready to bill. And here those are at this particular juncture too. Okay. All right. So there are other items that you can do with this, like for example, you can say to the program, I want all time slips, and I want only time slips that Rosie Bixel's been dealing with, and then we can do a refresh. So once again, it's accumulating that information. It's saying it's all time slips, and specifically Rosie Bixel, and here it is. We can also tell the program that we want to do an activity type, or maybe example, we want to take a look at everything that was all time slips by Rosie Bixel that was an interview, and hit the refresh button. Then it's going to come back and show us only that information that's associated with Rosie Bixel. Of course, there's only one because we had that before. So let's change this and say to not used by who, but we want to see all interviews. Let's try a refresh on that and see what the program gives us. And it's come back with a lot more information, as you can see. Okay, so what I want to show you is a fuzzy search concept. So we're going to leave all time slips, and we're going to say we're not going to use the filters for activity type. But let's say that I am looking for a specific word that's somewhere in this database that fall on the either billed or not billed. But I'm looking for a specific word, like maybe the word moan. Let's see what we get with that. So we do a refresh of this fuzzy detail, and what it's doing, it is swinging through all the nodes and is finding that specific word that matched this filter up here. So what this allows you to do as you are trying to search for things later on, if you have pieces of information, you can plug it in. The program's actually going to show you that specific data. This is a manner of which you can do filters, and these filters are actually applicable through all of the screens.